And hi everyone, my name is Nicola. I'm a Zabbix trainer at Quadrata, Italy. And today I want to share some experiences regarding Zabbix human interaction. Of course, we don't have the time to discuss usability in academic way. So in this speech, I'll try to show some very basic tips that you can easily apply in your specific environment. We often talk about Zabbix as a product, talk about its technology, its capabilities, and in some installation, the Zabbix admin is might be also the only user. But in large environments, you will probably have many users beside you. And the question is, will they be Zabbix experts or monitoring experts? Well, probably not. Maybe they know something about SNMP or what is an agent, but don't expect they know what is a low-level discovery or a dependent item or a correlation rule, for example. And let's see some multi-user environment example. If you're lucky, you have just a single team with people with the same job role, who works on the same infrastructure and need the same access to hosts. But in most cases, your users will have different job roles and probably will have different requirements and technical backgrounds. So you may have network engineers, storage experts, application developers, and so on. And in very large companies, these teams can be also spread across geographical sites. So there might be a network team with similar job roles in each of these premises. And of course, each team wants to monitor their local infrastructure, but also they want to know the status of shared services provided by other teams. So it's a complex situation. But again, if you're a service provider, things get very complex. You offer a monitoring service to your customers for their infrastructures. And in this case, users don't belong to your organization. So it may be quite difficult to communicate with them and also receiving feedbacks from them. Clearly, in each scenario, you need to set up a specific approach. But I think there are some common things that we can say about Zabbix usability in general. So let's see them. These are some common requirements for general software usability. So navigation, familiarity with other tools, consistency in space and time, preventing user from making errors, mistakes, and feedback for user actions, visual clarity, and of course, flexibility and fast operations. I know you are thinking about Zabbix user interface right now, and of course we could discuss a lot of whether Zabbix does or does not perform well in each of these categories. But let me say that Zabbix user interface is only one piece of the game, and probably this piece is not fully under your control, because user interface is clearly developed by the Zabbix team. So of course you can customize the code, but it will be unpractical to maintain a fork for a long time, in a long term. So there are other things you can do as a Zabbix admin to improve usability. Let's start from user interface, however. Usability has improved a lot compared to the first version. This one is the user interface in Zabbix 2.0, in Zabbix 3 or 4, 3, in Zabbix 3, and this is the current Zabbix 6.4 interface layout. Still, my experience is that Zabbix does not seem suitable for beginners or casual, occasional users. Why? Well, there are a lot of reasons, I think, but the most important is that a user interface is built upon the internal database model. So, I mean, item triggers, low-level discoveries, and so on. And items are general entities which can really contain any kind of information. A temperature, a disk space, a disk size, the status of a service. And in Zabbix user interface, items are displayed regardless of their semantics. We say that Zabbix is data agnostic. So, for example, this is a representation of a VMware cluster, and this is quite near to the user model. So I can see the resources displayed, the CPU, memory, storage, number of virtual machine, and so on. And all this data is gathered by Zabbix, but as you know, it's showed in a very basic format, is a list of labels and values. So Zabbix does not implement a user model inside its interface. And the question is that a bad thing? Well, yes, from user perspective, but no, of course, because this makes Zabbix so universal, so flexible. By not sticking to a particular data model, we can use Zabbix in many different use cases, in many environments, from IT infrastructure to industry to aerospatial application and so on. So the problem is how to improve usability in my specific use case. So if Zabbix interface does not implement data semantics, where should I put the data semantics? The answer is in the second point, so spoiler. Template designing. So let's start in giving some tips. The first tip is add semantics to your templates. So spend some time to properly define item names, trigger names, descriptions, tags, value maps, units, and so on. Why? Because let's see this example. This is a very poor trigger name. The user will look at this and probably will call you to ask, what's that? Which script failed? Which application launched that script? So, of course, you know which script failed because probably you wrote this template, but the user has not the information, of course, to understand. So the key is spend some time to tune your templates and to optimize your templates and communicating with the user. In fact, you will spend a lot of time answering to user question and so on. Very, very helpful here. No many people knows that, but there is a official template guidelines. There are guidelines, and I absolutely recommend giving them a look. They contain valuable tips for creating templates. Very precious read for your activity in Zabbix. And a special mention is for host dashboard or templated dashboard. This is an example of a host-centric view for a server. This dashboard was developed as a set of custom widgets which are missing in Zabbix. Why? Because many users ask this, to quickly see all host information on a single page. For example, its addresses, what operating system is running, if the host is available or it is maintenance, if it's monitored by a proxy. And currently this information is scattered among several Zabbix pages. Moreover, these widgets also include semantics, because each item is shown in a format that is optimal for that metric. So, for example, memory show the total memory, the available memory, the percent, swap. Network interfaces are shown in a tabular mode. And of course, to do that, these widgets assume that a given item key exists on the host. So the widget is tied to a specific template, and if you change the template, you need to modify also the widget source code. A more general approach is using standard host dashboard. They could not be as accurate and fancy as custom widget we have seen, but they are saved into templates and they are easier to maintain. The good news here is that in Zabbix 7.0, all widgets can be used into host dashboard. So you can create something very similar to this dashboard to see host information, problems, current availability, CPU, memory, and so on. However, it's still missing a widget to show items in a table. So, for example, for low-level discovered items, and we hope it will be soon developed into Zabbix. It's called a top item widget. So the second step is alerting, which is very, very important, because for many users, notifications are the main contact point with Zabbix. And some users, really, believe me, do not open the front end at all and learn from alerts what's going on. So it's really important to set up correctly the alerts. The first advice is obvious. Do not flood your users, okay? Every time a person receives a false positive, an alert which is not useful, which is not intended for him or her, well, that will reduce user trust in the monitoring system. And probably they will create that famous or infamous Outlook rule to move your messages from their inbox. So always fix false positive, zero tolerance, and constantly fix false positive. Fix also flapping triggers by using more intelligent function like max, min, count, and so on. Set a delay for operation. Don't send immediate alerts, because people will find in their mailbox the problem and the recovery. And it's really very annoying, you know. And send only alerts which require user action, not just informative alerts. This is a very common and known suggestion, and send, of course, to the right people. See also a good presentation from RHEL at the last Zabbix Summit. You can go for further information there. In reports notification page, there is a useful report which show how many alerts each user has received in a day, in a week, in a month, and you should regularly watch this report because some researchers have shown that a person which is not devoted to monitoring will not be able to handle more than 20 or 30 alerts per day. So it's really this a threshold you can use to see if there is something not running good. Let's go to the alert content, which is very important as well. As you know, default messages are very basic, and also they have some issues. For example, in the subject line, the host name is missing, so users need to open the message to understand on which host the problem was triggered. So really, don't be lazy. Try to enrich this alert, this template message. How is a good alert message? Of course, it's complete, so includes all information to understand the problem and take action. It's easy to read, so use smartly the formatting to quickly get the facts, and avoid Zabbix terminology. So, for example, operational data is an expression which is not very clear for some users. And also, a good alert message is compact, does not include irrelevant data, of course, and try to omit field labels when needed, because that make the alert content too complex. So if it's possible, omit field labels, especially on mobile devices where you need to read the relevant information just in one screen without too much scrolling. So the second tip is add formatting. It's obvious, but I would like to stress the fact that this is not a matter of style or fanciness. It's really about how many seconds your user will need to get the facts from the alert content, and how effort they will need to find the information they need. So that's the point, actually. For example, putting a colored icon in the subject line show that is more immediate than reading problem or resolve. It's a very, very small improvement, but it's really useful in many situations. And of course, add useful information. There are many macros you can insert in your message templates. And my suggestion, my advice is trigger description is your friend here. Yes, this should be used to communicate to the user why the trigger fired. So what is the condition which has been met? Because the user might not see the trigger expression. So it's useful to explain why the trigger fired. What the user should do or verify in this situation, and when the trigger will recover, and if a manual close is needed. So if you apply this constantly, it will be very a benefit for your user. And as you can see, you probably can see, alerts can also contain links. And links can be used to quickly access related information on the Zabbix frontend. For example, item history or item graph, very useful. Or to directly update a problem without searching in the front end. So clicking here, open the update problem window, and that can be very handy, in my opinion. And also, we are talking about update problem. I suggest to enable update operation in your action so that user will receive notification anytime a user any other user do something, for example, an acknowledge, change severity, insert a message, and this improve a lot engagement of user and collaboration between them. Other useful links you can use, of course, event details, host problems, a link to host dashboard, host configuration, search, and so on. Just be aware that these URL formats may change in a new Zabbix version. So you can use rewrite rules to define some standard, some static format, and to use in your message template. Let's go to the last point, which is about structuring your Zabbix objects and doing some other organizational improvement. Here, the first tip is be minimalist. Try to keep your user focused on their important things. Many studies reported that people work better if they have less choices to make, so have a smaller menu, and less information to evaluate. So minimalism is the key here. Permission can be used to show all interesting hosts in the Zabbix frontend, so having filter automatically host. And custom roles can be used to hide menu entries, hide menu section that user don't need. So, for example, reports or inventory or services. Try to be very minimal, will help your users. And also, in my experience, I've seen that maps are the best option for non-IT staff, non-IT personnel. So, for example, electrician, building maintainers, or people which don't have an IT backgrounds will benefit a lot from seeing a map with the object they can recognize. So they can be focused on that map. And this is one of the most underrated things in monitoring. Keep your user informed. Why? Because typically users expect a predictable and a consistent behavior from Zabbix. So if that trigger fired at that threshold, they expect that the threshold is fixed, is static, and if you change something, you will probably need to inform them. So inform user about changes to monitoring environment. I know that this is very time expensive, but if you have many users, this is very important, it's crucial. So when you create a new host or add a new host, when new entities are discovered by low level, or thresholds are changed, or triggers are modified or created. Also, you should inform user about service status, Zabbix scheduled downtimes, Zabbix incident, and so on. The good news is that you don't need to set up an external contact system to do that. You can build a, I call it Zabbix user bulletin inside Zabbix, into Zabbix, with a few ingredients. Just one host, one trapper, one trigger, a dashboard, and an action. Let's see how. It's a very simple idea, but I would like to share with you. First, create a host with a trapper item, and create your message. So, for example, this is a message to advise that the Zabbix service will be unavailable for maintenance and so on. And you can send your message using Zabbix sender to that host, that trapper item, or you can use any other tool or application you can write to send this message. Then create a trigger, simple trigger. The name is the message itself, so the item value. The expression is just something which will always fire anytime a new value is received. And you should set multiple event generation, multiple problem generation to create several messages in the bulletin board, and allow manual close to delete messages when you don't need them anymore. And that's it. Create a dashboard with a problem widget for the dummy host, and it will contain and show all the message, and the user will find here all the information. And you also can manage message here, updating them, adding some comments, or closing with the update problem. Lastly, create an action to notify your user when you publish something new in the bulletin. And the main advantage is that the notification will reach your user by using their configured and preferred media. So it's really easy, very, very easy to set up, but I think quite effective. Okay, some final tips. Analyze your user behavior. What is the behavior of your user on the Zabbix front end? How many times do they connect? How much dashboard are used? Well, Zabbix audit feature does not include this information, but an idea is to analyze the access log file from the web server using one tool. There are many tools to do that, to gather useful insight and also detect HTTP errors like 5 internal server error and other situations like that. Finally, why not training your user? Remember that Zabbix offers several training programs, and for end users, there is the Zabbix Certified User course, which is a one-day training especially dedicated to new users, to non-experienced, to learn the fundamentals feature of Zabbix. It's really, really worth to consider, and it's a good idea to attend this training. Also remember that a monitoring system is comprised by two parts, okay? The Zabbix software with its features, but your implementation, your templates, host group structure, workflow, and so on. So the training is the official training plus internal training for your specific configuration, and of course documentation. But I know that you are very clever Zabbix admin, and you are very on good in the documentation. Okay, so that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. And if there are any questions, I'm here.
Thank you, Nicola. Very great presentation. I think a lot of people will be able to learn a thing or two from this, even experienced Zabbix admins. And if you're someone new, then you can definitely go through this presentation. Like I said, recordings will be available in the coming days. And then just follow these tips and implement Zabbix in your own environment. Currently, there are no questions, but feel free to leave them in the Q&A section. Question, we have a question. Are those custom host dashboard widgets available publicly?
Okay, well, not yet at the moment, but it may be an idea. Actually, we hope that Zabbix 7.0 will tend to give these widgets, custom widgets, not so useful. So we hope that it will be built into Zabbix.
Thank you. So a lot of new widgets coming in 7.0. Follow our beta releases. You'll see some new things also in very nearby future when it comes to widgets. Thank you.